CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I'm a dark web magician, and I'm in need of my greatest space act. Alright, so I don't normally post on Reddit. I'm more of a lurker, but I swear to God, what I'm about to tell you is 100% real. You can call BS if you want, but at least read this before you decide I'm lying or just trying to be edgy. Because if this isn't a warning, I don't know what is. My name's Matt. I'm 23. I live in a small town just outside of Chicago. Not exactly the crime capital, but you'd be surprised what goes down in the shadows of the suburbs. You see, I do magic. Like, not Harry Potter waving wand and spellbook kinda magic. I'm talking about street illusions, card tricks, sleight of hand. The kind of stuff that gets you followers on TikTok if you time the lighting right and slap a trending song on top. I started when I was like 11, got into David Blaine, Chris Angel, all those guys. But recently, things have taken a turn, a really dark one. It all started with this idea I had. What if I did something nobody's done before? Like a trick so insane, so out there, that people would have to pay attention. I didn't want just TikTok fame anymore. I wanted viral. I wanted legend. So of course, like an idiot, I went digging. And when I say digging, I don't mean on YouTube or Reddit. Nah, I mean I dove into the dark web. Now let me be clear, I'm not some edgy hacker dude with 5 monitors and neon lights. I barely knew what I was doing. I found this Tor browser subreddit, installed everything like they said, used a VPN, all that good stuff. I was careful. Or I thought I was. Anyway, after maybe 2 weeks of poking around, I found this forum. It was hidden behind like 3 layers of sketchy redirects and password protected boards. But eventually I got in thanks to some dusty Reddit post that had a working invite code buried in the comments. It was called the Black Room. It wasn't like those hitman services or red room streaming sites people always talk about. Trust me, 99% of those are just fake or lead to dead links. But this one, it was different. The Black Room was a forum, specifically for people who practiced real magic. Yeah, I know how that sounds. You're probably already checking out, thinking I'm full of crap. But the stuff I saw in there, it didn't feel fake. There were videos, grainy, low-res, VHS style even, of people doing stuff that honestly gave me chills. One guy made a bird explode in his hands and then pulled its beak out of his own mouth. Another posted footage of him pulling something alive, out of a mirror in a broken down Taco Bell restroom in New Mexico. Like, what? Some of them were straight up unwatchable, corrupted, screaming in the background, people laughing when they shouldn't be. But the worst part, the comment sections. It was never stuff like, whoa, cool, or nice trick, number. The comments were more like, the offering was accepted. Your thread has been seen. The circle widens. We will return the favor, creepy cult-like stuff. The deeper I got, the more I noticed there was a ranking system. Like, you could level up, but not through upvotes or karma. You had to post something real. They called it proof work. So obviously, I started posting. Basic stuff at first. I did a trick where I guessed people's numbers blindfolded, made coins disappear, even set a napkin on fire and turned it into a dove. Cheap Amazon prop, but it looked good on camera. Got a couple replies, but nothing major. Then, one night, I got a private message. It just said, "We see your hands, but what about your soul?" Under that was a link. No sender name, no return address, just an onion link. Dumb as it sounds, I clicked it. It took me to a page titled The Final Act. There was a timer on the page, counting down from 24 hours, and under it, instructions for a trick I'd never seen before. I mean, it was written like a ritual, not a performance. Stuff like, perform in an abandoned structure. Use a reflective surface not touched by light for 7 days. Bring something of yourself, something alive. But here's the catch. They promised fame. The post literally said, complete the act, and your name will never be forgotten. The world will see you. The circle will embrace you. Like I said, I'm not edgy. I don't sacrifice goats or chant Latin. I'm just a dude with a deck of cards and a camera. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, I scrolled Instagram for hours, watched my followers stagnate at 4.2K. Every time I refreshed, the timer in my head ticked down. I don't know what came over me, but around 2 a.m., I grabbed my gear, deck of cards, my GoPro, a mirror I bought at a garage sale that was still wrapped in newspaper, and I drove to this abandoned community center about 20 minutes from town. Used to be a YMCA, but it shut down during the pandemic, and nobody ever fixed it up. The place was rotting, mold everywhere. You could smell the damp through your clothes, but it was perfect. I set up my tripod in front of the mirror, turned on the GoPro, and started following the instructions. I cut my palm, placed the blood on the mirror, spoke the words exactly like the page said. I even brought my pet mouse, Finn, like the instructions said. A small life, chosen. I felt like a monster, but I didn't kill him or anything. I just set him on top of the mirror. Then I waited, and something happened. The mirror didn't shimmer or glow or do any Hollywood crap. It just shifted, like the reflection lagged for half a second. Then a hand, a real hand, reached out of it. I fell back so hard I smacked my head on the floor. The camera fell too, but it kept recording. I swear to God, the hand grabbed Finn, and then it was gone. Mirror was normal again. Mouse, gone. Hand, gone. But I wasn't dreaming. The blood was still there. My camera was still rolling. And worst of all, the mirror was still warm. I got in my car and drove home without saying a word. Didn't even grab the tripod. When I checked my GoPro footage the next morning, it was all there. I uploaded it to the forum. 10 minutes later, I was ranked to level 3. See ya. The next day, my TikTok blew up. Millions of views. I didn't even post the dark web version. Just a few creepy shots, edited to look cool. But people ate it up. Comments everywhere. Where did you film this? Dude, that hand at the end. Was that real? This better not be AI, bro. And then, I got another message. This one just said, congratulations. One act remains. Escape, if you can. And attached was a GPS coordinate. Middle of nowhere. Northern Michigan. The location, an old buried church, supposedly condemned back in the 70s. I looked it up. There's literally a Reddit thread about it. on r/urban exploration. People say it was used for occult stuff, sacrifices. Some even claim it moves. I think they want me to go there. I think that's the final act. But here's the thing. Ever since the hand came out of the mirror, I've started seeing things. Reflections that don't match. Shadows in my room when I'm home alone. One time, I passed a McDonald's on the way to work, and every person inside turned to look at me at the same time. Like, all at once. Dead serious. I didn't even stop. The worst part, I think Finn's still alive. I hear scratching behind the walls, like tiny feet, but they never get closer. They just follow. So now I'm here, writing this, because tomorrow I'm going to that church, and I don't think this is a magic trick anymore. I think this is a test, and if I don't figure out how to escape, I don't think I'm coming back. I didn't sleep the night before the trip. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that hand coming out of the mirror. The veins, the way its skin looked wet, like something had just been born. I'd tell myself I imagined it, but every time I tried to convince myself it was fake, I'd remember the heat coming off that glass. Mirrors don't stay warm. By morning, my phone had 5 missed notifications from an account I didn't remember following. Just a blank profile picture with the username @_the_audience. Each message said the same thing. It's time for your final performance. No location, no link, just that. It took me 5 hours to drive to the coordinates. The farther north I went, the worse my cell signal got. Gas stations turned into diners. Diners turned into long stretches of pine trees and old rusted road signs that pointed to towns nobody lived in anymore. The GPS took me down a dirt road for the last 2 miles. It was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just the crunch of my tires over the gravel. And then I saw it, the church. It wasn't like a regular church. It was half buried, like the earth had swallowed it up. The steeple was gone, replaced with a sinkhole that looked like it was still collapsing. The windows were boarded from the inside. The cross on the front door was upside down, but not painted, nailed. Someone had physically flipped it and driven it back into the wood. And there were footprints, dozens of them, all leading in, none leading out. I parked a few hundred feet away and got my GoPro ready. I told myself this was still a trick, just another illusion, another performance. But my hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the camera straight. Inside, it smelled like mildew and copper. The air was thick. Every sound echoed like the building itself was breathing with me. The walls had this black mold that looked almost like handwriting if you stared long enough, like the paint had been erased and rewritten. I found a small stairwell leading down to the basement. The moment I stepped on the first stair, my phone buzzed. No service, but a notification popped up anyway. Recording has begun. I hadn't hit record. The stairs led into a large open room. There were chairs arranged in a circle, all facing this giant metal box in the middle, like a magician's trunk. On the lid, written in what looked like dried mud, were the words, "The Escape Act." I walked around it, half expecting someone to jump out. Nothing. Then I heard something faint, like static. It was coming from a small TV sitting in the corner, half buried in dust. It flickered on by itself. The footage playing on it made my stomach turn. It was me, standing in the same room, from the same angle I was watching now. Only, in the video, I wasn't moving. I was just staring at the camera, head tilted. Then the screen glitched, and behind me, in the video, something walked out from the shadows. It looked like a person, but its proportions were wrong. Too tall, neck too long, like it had been stretched. It placed its hand on my shoulder. I spun around in real life. Nothing there. But the TV kept playing. The version of me on screen started laughing. Not out loud, but silently, like the sound had been muted. And then he pointed directly at the camera. At me. I remember backing away, tripping over one of the chairs. I hit the floor so hard that dust shot up in clouds. When I looked back at the screen, the TV was showing a live feed. Me, right now, sitting on the ground. But there was someone behind me in the feed. I turned so fast I nearly dropped the camera again. Still, nothing. Empty air. But the static kept humming, louder and louder, until it sounded like a whisper right next to my ear. Don't turn off the show. I bolted for the stairs. The moment my foot hit the first step, every single light in the room went out. The only thing left glowing was that TV, showing me, frozen mid-step, halfway between running and falling, and then it glitched again. This time, the version of me on the screen looked different, paler. His eyes were completely black, like ink had leaked into them. His hands were shaking, but not from fear, from excitement. Then the lights came back on, and the metal trunk in the center of the room was open. Something inside was breathing. I swear on my life, I heard it inhale, like lungs filling with air after years underwater. The sound came from deep inside the box, slow and human, but not, like it was trying to learn how to breathe. My instincts were screaming at me to leave, but my curiosity, or maybe whatever they had put in my head, kept me there. I took one step closer, holding the camera out in front of me, like it could protect me. The air got colder, the breathing got louder, and then I saw it. Not clearly, just for a second. A shape, shifting under a black sheet. I couldn't tell if it was a person or something else. The only detail I caught was the hand pressed against the fabric, the same one from the mirror. I stumbled back. My phone buzzed again. New message. Every magician must vanish. I dropped everything and ran. Didn't stop to grab the camera. Didn't look back. I remember bursting through those church doors and sprinting toward my car, gasping for air. The whole forest felt wrong. The trees were too still, like they were watching me. When I finally reached the car and looked back, the church was gone. Not collapsed, not hidden, just gone. The dirt road behind me looked untouched, like it had never been there at all. The only proof I had was the mud on my shoes, and the GoPro, I realized later, was sitting in the passenger seat. I don't remember grabbing it, but it was on, recording. When I got home, I plugged it into my laptop and watched. For the first 20 minutes, everything looked the same. Me exploring, the TV flickering, the trunk in the center. Then, when the lights went out, the video didn't go black. Instead, it showed me, or something that looked like me, walking towards the trunk and climbing inside. The lid shut, the breathing stopped, and the final frame, before the video cut to static, it was the trunk, now closed again. Only this time, the writing on it didn't say the escape act. It said encore. And that's when I realized I didn't escape anything that night. I started the show. When I got back home, something was different. It didn't hit me all at once. It crept in, quiet, like static between stations. You don't notice it at first, but eventually, it's all you hear. The second I walked through the door, my apartment felt off. Not haunted or anything cliche like that. Just wrong. The angles looked off. The corners of my walls felt sharper, like the geometry was almost the same as I left it. But if you stared at it too long, your brain would start to ache. I used to have this painting, an abstract spiral thing I got from an Etsy shop years ago, that always hung above my couch. Except now it was upside down. Except it wasn't. I checked the hooks. They were fine, but the spiral spun the other way now. I stared at it for almost 20 minutes. Then I realized I couldn't hear the city anymore. I live in a tiny apartment right outside Chicago. There's always noise. Trains, sirens, drunk people, helicopters, something. But now, nothing. Dead silence. Like I was living in a museum version of my neighborhood. I opened my window, looked outside. Everything was still. Every car parked perfectly. Every window dark. The streetlights didn't flicker, not even once. The sky looked painted. I pulled out my phone to check Twitter, TikTok, anything. I couldn't log in. My passwords didn't work. Every account said the same thing. This account is already performing. What the hell does that even mean? I FaceTimed my friend Derek. He's the only one who knew I'd been messing with the dark web. He didn't answer. Instead, his phone picked up and just showed me his ceiling fan. Spinning, spinning, for a solid 4 minutes. Then the feed moved, but Derek didn't appear. Someone else did. A figure, wearing a black suit that looked drawn on, like someone had sketched it in with charcoal. Its head twitched in these unnatural frame-skipping movements, like when you have bad internet during a Zoom call, but in real life. It leaned towards the screen and whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but my speakers blew out trying. They didn't make noise. They just broke. Next day, my apartment changed again. My reflection didn't sync up with me anymore. Not all the time. Sometimes, I'd walk past the mirror in the hallway, and my reflection would freeze for half a second too long, like it was considering not following me. Other times, it would smile when I wasn't. And then the dream started. Not nightmares. Not in the traditional sense. These were like memory leaks. I'd dream of things I hadn't done. Versions of myself doing things I'd never do. Like carving symbols into the inside of my bathroom mirror. Like hosting shows in basements I didn't recognize, surrounded by faceless people, clapping in perfect rhythm. I'd wake up with bruises on my hands, and sometimes my fingernails were black. I tried calling my mom. The number worked, but the voice that picked up didn't sound like her. It used her voice, but it spoke like it had just learned the alphabet the night before. Choppy, robotic, like it had to search for the right sounds. Ma'at, we're watching. You. I hung up. I tried texting Derek again. This time, I got a reply. We liked the escape trick. Do it again. I didn't reply. I threw my phone across the room. It landed face up. Screen shattered. New notification. You are now streaming live. And then the camera turned on. Not my camera. The front camera. No app open. No lights. Just recording me. I tried shutting it off. Powering down. Nothing worked. So I took a towel and threw it over the phone. That night, something entered my apartment. I never heard the door, never saw it come in, but I felt it. It's like the air stopped obeying physics. Every corner of the room got colder, while the space around me grew hot, like it was crowding me, like it was breathing down my skin. My TV turned on by itself, the input source set to unknown, and it was playing the footage from the church, except it wasn't. It was me, yes, but not from my angle. It was footage from inside the trunk, a view I never saw, a camera I never placed. The inside of the box was all mirrors, and all of them were cracked, not broken, just splintered, like someone had punched through reality. And in the footage, as I climbed into the trunk, the camera zoomed in on my face. My eyes were already black. Then the screen cut to static, then to white. Then it showed my living room. Now, same lighting, same layout. Only this time, there were 3 of me. One standing in the kitchen, one sitting where I was sitting, and one pressed up against the screen, whispering something I still can't get out of my head. You are no longer the magician. You are the act. I shut the TV off, unplugged it. Didn't matter. The whisper didn't stop. It was coming from inside the walls now. The next morning, my apartment door was open, and on the hallway floor outside, someone had written, "Thank you for the show. They loved it," in charcoal. I haven't left since, but the room changes every night. Sometimes it's the color of the walls. Sometimes it's the layout of the furniture. Once, I swear to you, the window looked out onto a forest, and I live on the 5th floor of a building downtown. My emails are gone, my socials erased, but they still message me. One of them sent me a video file last night. It was me, walking into a Starbucks, smiling, laughing, holding a drink, but I haven't left my apartment in 5 days. People in the background were all frozen in place, staring, smiling, like wax figures. And then, one of them blinked, just once, and broke character, screamed, loud, like she'd just realized she wasn't supposed to be there. Then the footage looped, again and again. I think whoever or whatever runs the black room, it doesn't live on the dark web. Not really. That was just the invitation, the bait. Now I think the show is real, and I'm the only one in it who doesn't know their lines, because I keep getting one final message, again and again, written in different fonts, pushed under my door, whispered in videos I never filmed. The audience is coming. Prepare your final act. Do you want to know what I found when I looked in the mirror this morning? I was gone. My reflection wasn't there anymore, but someone else was, and they were smiling. You ever heard of the Solomon Room? Probably not. I hadn't either, not until it showed up in my living room, but I'll get there. Let me start with this. I don't remember how many days it's been since I left the church. I don't know if time works the same anymore. My phone still shows the date, but I've seen it change while I'm staring at it. Flicker, shift, go backwards. Once it said October 33rd, and it stayed that way for 19 hours. I've stopped trusting clocks and reflections and light. Light lies more than shadows now. Some nights I turn on a lamp and it casts multiple shadows of me, each one facing a different direction, and sometimes they don't move when I move. One time, I caught one looking at me. It smiled, and then it copied me again, like nothing happened. I used to do card tricks on TikTok. Simple stuff. Pick a card, misdirect, boom, smile for the camera, followers, comments, algorithm sugar. Now, every time I shuffle a deck, the cards cut themselves, and there's always one that rises from the middle like it's being pulled. It's always the same card, the 3 of mouths. That's not a real card. It doesn't exist. But I have 10 of them now, and they scream when I try to burn them. I started hearing knocks, not on the door, from inside the walls, like something crawling between drywall and plaster, running its fingers down the inside of my apartment like it's tracing a maze. 3 knocks, then 2, then 1, then silence, then whispering. Always the same phrase. Ready when you are. I don't leave anymore. Not because I can't, but because I don't know what's outside. Every time I open my window, it's something else. One morning, it was a playground. Not a playground. My childhood one. Same broken swings. Same graffiti under the slide. Same initials I carved into the wood with a plastic fork when I was 10. But there were children out there, standing perfectly still. No faces, just skin, and their mouths were open wider than should be possible, like someone had sliced them to the ears, but there was no blood, just skin. They were all staring up at my window, and then they waved, in unison, slow, mechanical, like they were told to. I tried filming it, thinking, okay, finally, proof. Something to show the world. But when I checked the footage, the children weren't there. It was just me, looking out an empty window, laughing, hard. So hard, I collapsed onto the floor and started crawling toward the camera. Then the screen cut to black. I didn't laugh. I swear I didn't. But the version of me in the camera, he wouldn't stop. 3 days ago, I think, I found a door in my closet that wasn't there before. Not metaphorically, literally. Wooden, black handle. Smelled like sulfur and winter. Above it, carved into the frame in perfect cursive, were the words, "The Solomon Room." I didn't open it. I'm not completely stupid. But that night, I found a note under my pillow. Plain white paper. No handwriting. Just indentations, like someone pressed the words in with their fingers. It's rude to ignore an invitation. The next morning, all the food in my fridge was gone, replaced by playing cards, not loose ones. Vacuum sealed, deck after deck, perfectly arranged. Every box read, "For the final act, do not open until they begin clapping." I don't even eat anymore. I don't think I need to. That's not me being poetic. I can't. Food tastes like cardboard soaked in bleach now. Water feels thick, like it's resisting my throat. I found an apple in my cupboard the other day. I hadn't bought it. When I bit into it, it bled, like a human. Bright red, thick and warm. There were teeth inside. Not mine. I get emails from myself now. Not my account. Just from me. They say things like, "They're almost ready. You need to practice your silence. Don't let them see your wrists when you bow. Stop thinking." They can hear that now. And then one came in that just said, "Why do you keep pretending this isn't your dream?" That one messed me up, because for a second, I remembered something buried. I was on stage, spotlights, applause, but the audience had no faces, and they weren't watching me. They were mirroring me, every move, every blink, every breath, and if I stopped, so did they, and it felt like the world would freeze forever if I made the wrong move. Then I woke up, with blood in my ears, real blood, still warm, and someone had written, "Good show," on my wall with it. I don't know who I am anymore. I mean that literally. I woke up yesterday and forgot my name for 4 hours. When I looked in the mirror, I saw versions of myself fade in and out like holograms. One was a child, one was bald, one was burned, one just stood there, pointing at me with a shaking hand. And every hour on the hour, my phone plays a clapping sound now. Always polite, always distant, but it's getting louder, like the crowd's getting closer. And tonight, the door in the closet opened by itself. Inside, a single chair, facing a mirror. No light, just a pale glow, like moonlight underwater, and written on the mirror in fog. You may now introduce yourself. So here I am, sitting at my desk, typing this, recording myself, performing. Because deep down, I think the show never stopped. I think the real trick wasn't escaping. It was making me forget I was ever in it. And now, the audience is growing impatient. The clapping's getting closer, and I think I can hear their fingernails on the glass. I think I've known for a while that there was never going to be a curtain call. There's no end of show. There's only when you realize you've been standing on stage the entire time. The apartment is silent again tonight. The kind of silence that hums, like a microphone left on somewhere. I haven't turned on a single light, but the walls are glowing the faint gray of a screen waiting to play something. Every window shows a different time of day. One is dawn. One is pitch black night. One shows rain falling upward. I stopped trying to fix it 2 days ago. You can't fix physics when it's decided it doesn't believe in you. The notes keep appearing, folded neatly, always on the kitchen table. Different paper every time, same indentation. Don't look away when they applaud. Last night there were 23 of them, stacked in a perfect tower, balanced like cards. When I breathed, the top one fluttered off and landed upside down. The back was covered in fingerprints that weren't mine. Small ones, children's. There's a noise under the floorboards now. Not scratching, tapping, like fingers rehearsing. Sometimes it keeps rhythm with my heartbeat. Sometimes I have to change my breathing so I don't match it. Every hour, on the hour, the clapping starts again. It used to sound like it came from another room. Now it sounds like it's coming from inside my chest. This morning, my reflection was back. He looked relieved, like someone who's been waiting in the wings too long. I asked out loud, "Is this the encore?" He nodded once. Then his lips moved, but I heard the answer from behind me instead of in front of me. "You're late." The mirror in the closet, the one from the Solomon room, was wide open, not cracked, not dusty, perfectly clean, as if it had been wiped down for a show. In the center sat a small table with my old deck of cards on it. Every card was blank except one, the top one, the escape. That's all it said. No suit, no number, just the word. I picked it up, and the air around me went thin, like the oxygen had been drained out. The clapping started again, soft and polite. And then a voice, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, overlapping, whispering, "Show us how it's done." I stepped into the mirror. There was no impact, no resistance, just a sudden weightlessness, like falling into water that didn't want to be water anymore. The room on the other side looked like my apartment, but it wasn't finished being real. Outlines instead of walls, sketches instead of furniture. Everything pulsed faintly, like it was breathing, and standing in the middle of it were people. Hundreds of them, dressed like an audience, but wrong around the edges. Faces half drawn, eyes that blinked out of sync. When they clapped, the air rippled. The figure from the church stepped forward, still too tall, still flickering like bad footage. He held out his hand. "The magician escapes by becoming the trick," he said. That's when I understood. The Black Room was never a website. It was a rehearsal. Every video, every ritual, every trick, teaching us how to let go of being real long enough for them to step through. I wasn't supposed to survive the act. I was supposed to make space. The last thing I remember clearly is the feeling of my own pulse slowing down until it matched the rhythm of the clapping. Then everything inverted. Sound into light, breath into static. And for a moment, I could see the crowd not as shadows, but as reflections. Every one of them was me. Different ages, different lives, all versions that had clicked a wrong link, opened the wrong door, believed they were performing alone. They started to vanish one by one, and every time one disappeared, I felt lighter, thinner, until there was only one left, the one still holding the card. Now I'm sitting in an empty room that looks like mine again. Only the mirrors move when I breathe. The walls shimmer with faint shapes of hands, waiting. My laptop screen is open, cursor blinking. The title field already filled in. The magician's final act. I guess that's what this post is. The part where the performer bows and the audience finally stands. Because outside my window, every light in every building has turned on at once. And through each pane of glass, I can see faces pressed against it, smiling, waiting. The whole city, watching. And when I blink, they blink back. If you're reading this, I need you to do one thing. Don't try to find the black room. Don't look for the mirror. And if your reflection ever smiles, before you do, don't clap. My family have secret dark web ritual for fame and success, and we have statues from us in our house. My statue smiled at me last night. Yo, what's up, Reddit? I never really post on here unless it's something random or funny, but this is something else. I'm not sure if I'm safe right now, and honestly, I don't know if posting this will make things worse or better. But I need to tell someone outside of my house, outside of them. I don't even know where to start, man. Okay, so for context, I live in upstate New York, not the cool NYC part, like the weird rural side, where the towns feel like they're stuck in 2004 and the Wi-Fi sucks. If you drive 10 minutes out of town, it's just cornfields, dead malls, and a million churches. My family's kinda rich, like the creepy rich kind. Big house, perfect lawn, parents always smiling at dinner kind of rich. They own a chain of health food companies and some crypto startup that doesn't exist on the surface web. Whatever the hell that means. That's actually what my dad said once, laughing like it was an inside joke. But whatever. For most of my life, things seemed normal. Until I turned 18. That's when everything started getting off. So yeah, I just turned 18 3 weeks ago. We had this huge birthday dinner, super fancy, catered, candles and all. My mom told me to dress properly and handed me a weird black suit with no tag. It felt waxy. Like it wasn't made from normal fabric. Everyone at the dinner wore matching black, even my little sister, who's 10. No one had their phones, which already felt sketchy, because we're a super tech-obsessed family. My brother literally live-streamed himself doing a backflip at a McDonald's in Dubai once. We're that kind of extra. Anyway, dinner's quiet. Too quiet. The only sound was this low humming coming from somewhere in the house, like a generator. Halfway through eating, my mom looked at me and said, "Tonight, you'll meet him." I asked who he was, and she just smiled. My dad raised a glass and said, "To the next phase." Brother, I thought they were just messing with me, like some weird rich people inside joke, but it gets worse. After dinner, they blindfolded me, not like playfully. They literally tied a cloth around my face and led me downstairs. I tried to ask what was going on, and my mom whispered, "Just follow the rhythm." Then I heard the humming again, louder this time, like it was coming from under the house. They took me through a door I'd never seen before, and I've lived here my whole life. It creaked like something out of a haunted house ride, and the air got colder instantly. When they finally took the blindfold off, I was in the stone basement, lit with those fake electric candles you get at Michael's. There were these statues all around, like life-size realistic statues of people. I swear to God, they looked like me and my family. And then I saw it, my statue. Same clothes I was wearing, same stupid crooked smile I make in selfies, same birthmark on the neck, except its mouth was open, like it was caught mid-scream, and then it smiled. I know how that sounds, okay? I know it sounds like I'm tweaking, but I swear it. Its lips moved. It smiled at me. I jumped back and looked at my dad, and he just nodded like this was supposed to happen. "Don't fear it," he said. "That's you now." They made me kneel in front of it. I didn't know what to do, man. My heart was going insane. I thought maybe I was being initiated into some weird family tradition. Rich people have weird hobbies, right? But then they started chanting, real low, like something you'd hear in those creepy deep web iceberg videos on YouTube, like some old Latin mixed with glitchy whispers. It didn't even sound real. Then they poured something on the statue's head, black, thick, and smelled like iron, burnt plastic. The room started vibrating. I swear the walls breathed. My little sister just stared at me, not blinking, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was back in my room. No one explained anything. My phone was back. My clothes were clean. It was like nothing happened. Except now, every time I pass the living room, I see the statue of me. And I swear to you, every day it looks a little different. Last night, it looked like it had been crying. And then this morning, when I left for school, it smiled again. A full, toothy smile, and this time, its head turned a little, just enough for me to notice. I don't know what they did to me that night. I've started hearing whispers from inside the vents. I don't sleep anymore. My phone keeps getting notifications from apps I didn't download. One of them is called Reflection Net. It doesn't show up in the app list, only on the lock screen. It keeps saying, Phase 2, calibration in progress. I think my family made some kind of deal. I think they used that basement for something way darker than a ritual. I think those statues aren't just statues. I'm scared to tell anyone in real life, but I had to get this out there. If you've heard of anything like this, or if you've seen an app called Reflection Net, please comment, because I think this goes way deeper than just my family. And something tells me I wasn't there first, and I won't be the last. I didn't go to school the next day. I told my parents I was sick. No questions asked, no feel better, or let us know if you need anything. Just a stare from both of them, like they already knew why I was staying home, and they were waiting. The statue in the living room was facing the window now. Nobody moved it. No one in my family ever acknowledged it being there. Not even my sister, who used to dress her Barbies up like Ariana Grande and glue rhinestones to the family dog. She acts like it doesn't exist, but I know she sees it. She avoids looking at it like it's got eyes. I tried to ignore it. Tried playing Warzone, scrolling TikTok, pretending I was normal for like 5 minutes. Then my phone buzzed. It was that app again. Reflection Net. It didn't open like a normal app. It didn't even show an interface. The screen just went black, and then this slow static came in, like an old CRT TV turning on in the dark. And then it showed a photo of me, but not me right now. It was me, sitting on my bed, looking at my phone, wearing the same hoodie, same blanket draped over my legs. From the back, someone had taken a photo of me from inside my room, but I was alone. The timestamp was from 13 seconds ago. I dropped the phone. It made this loud, sharp crack on the wood floor, and the screen glitched hard for a second before going black. Dead. I stood up, heart destroying my ribs, and turned to look behind me. Nothing. I checked the closet, under the bed, even opened the crawl space hatch in the corner. Nothing. But then I noticed something worse. The mirror across the room was cracked. Just a thin line, splitting straight down the center, like a vein. And behind my reflection, someone else stood. Just a blur, a silhouette. But it was there, shoulders hunched, neck slightly bent like it didn't fit its body right, and its eyes, two solid white discs, no pupils, no eyelids, like headlights in fog. I blinked. Gone. Mirror normal. Room empty. I almost convinced myself I was just tweaking, until I opened the camera roll again. The photo was still there, except now it was closer. The angle had changed, and this time I was smiling in it. I didn't smile. That night, my sister knocked on my door. It was 2:47 a.m. She never knocks on my door. She doesn't even come upstairs without screaming for someone to carry her. But she was standing there barefoot, wearing a pink unicorn onesie, holding something wrapped in a towel. "Mom says you need to feed it," she whispered. "Feed what?" She unwrapped the towel. It was a heart, like a real raw bloody heart, still beating. "I took it from my rabbit," she whispered, not blinking. I tried to back away, but she stepped closer. Her mouth trembled, but her eyes were glass, frozen. "They said, if I don't, the reflection man will take me next." And then she dropped it, right at my feet. It made a wet slap, and I swear to God it twitched. I couldn't sleep after that. I couldn't even think. I tried texting my best friend Luca, but all my outgoing messages just glitched into gibberish. Every letter turned into the same repeating word. Fracture. Over and over. My phone turned off at 3:13 a.m. Sharp. And that's when I heard the sound again. The humming. Same as the night of the ritual. But this time, it was coming from my mirror. I sat on the bed, staring at it, dead still. The glass started to fog up, like it was breathing, like something on the other side was getting closer. And then, a hand pressed against the inside. Pale, thin, veiny. The fingers were wrong, bent at inhuman angles, like they'd been broken and never healed right. It dragged its nails slowly down the mirror, leaving 5 perfect scratch marks, deep, audible, like claws on a chalkboard. And then, in the reflection, I saw my statue, not in the living room, in the mirror, behind me. It was holding my heart, and it was laughing. The next morning, my mom said we were going out. She didn't say where, just told me to dress like I did for the dinner. I asked if I could stay home, and she smiled with teeth too sharp to be hers. "We need to calibrate the connection," she said. They took me to this abandoned warehouse 2 towns over. I recognized it from an old YouTube video. Some urban explorer channel filmed a 40-minute walkthrough and claimed it was haunted, full of dead birds and burned furniture. I always thought that stuff was fake. Now I know it's not, because when we got inside, they were already waiting. Dozens of people, dressed in all black. Some wore masks that looked like porcelain dolls. Some had no faces at all, just skin stretched where features should be. And in the center of the warehouse was a room made entirely of mirrors. No doors, no windows, just freestanding glass, 10 feet high, in a perfect circle. I could hear screaming coming from inside. No one else reacted. They dragged me forward. My dad was humming again. The same tune. The same one I heard during the ritual. I think it's a frequency or something. I don't even think it's music. I think it's a signal. They opened a narrow slit in the mirror wall. It was so much colder inside. The floor was sticky. The mirrors were bleeding. I'm not being poetic. I mean actual thick black liquid was oozing from the corners of the mirrors. Not dripping, pouring, and it stank like battery acid mixed with rotting meat. And in every mirror, I saw different versions of myself. One with no eyes, one with a stitched mouth, one with someone else's face stretched over mine, and one that was just smiling, calm, serene, until it looked directly at me. Then it mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, but I could feel it. Phase 3, and then the glass cracked. I woke up in my bed again. No cuts, no bruises, no blood. But something's wrong with the air now. It tastes like copper. My parents walk different, like the limbs don't connect right anymore. My sister doesn't blink at all. And the statue, it's in my room now, standing at the foot of my bed. Its mouth is wide open, like it's about to scream. And every time I close my eyes, I hear it, whispering my name backwards, over and over. Phase 4 is coming, and I don't think I'm me anymore. I didn't leave my room for 2 days after the statue moved into it. Mom would tap on the door every few hours, not knocking, just tapping. 4 beats, pause, 4 beats again, like a metronome. The air vents hummed the same low note the mirrors used to make, so I stuffed towels in them and tried to drown it out with lo-fi YouTube playlists. Didn't help. The sound slid under everything, like the baseline of reality had changed, and no one told me. The statue stood at the end of my bed. I tried putting a blanket over its head. In the morning, the blanket was folded neatly on my desk, and the statue had turned toward the window. My phone powered itself on at 3:13 a.m. again. Reflection that appeared. No login, no prompt. Just a flicker of static and a countdown. Phase 4, 36 minutes. Underneath, a faint reflection shimmered on the screen. Not my face. My dad's. He was whispering something, but the sound came through the phone's speaker backward, like tape being rewound. When I slowed the video later, I realized it was him saying my name. Over and over. At breakfast, Dad looked exactly like he did on the phone. Same gray hoodie, same small twitch in his jaw. Except he wasn't eating, just holding a spoon perfectly still over a bowl of dry cereal. When I asked if he was okay, he said, "Your reflection's almost ready." Mom smiled like he'd told a joke. My sister giggled and stirred her milk, even though her spoon never touched the bowl. Around noon, I tried to leave. The front door opened onto black static. Not darkness, static. Like the world outside had turned into a broken TV feed. The noise buzzed inside my teeth. When I reached out, my hand disappeared halfway through the air. It didn't hurt. It just stopped existing. I pulled back and my fingernails were gone. Perfectly smooth skin where they should be. I screamed, but the house absorbed the sound. It didn't echo. It didn't travel. It just died. That night, I started recording everything on my old Canon camera. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, just analog. When I played it back, every frame had the statue closer. Frame 1, standing by the window. Frame 40, halfway across the room. Frame 60, inches from the lens, mouth slightly open. Frame 61, static. But here's the thing. While filming, I never saw it move once. Not once. The next day, I found out the truth about the warehouse mirror room. I woke up to a smell. Ozone and burned plastic. My phone was on again, even though I'd removed the battery. A video auto-played, security footage, time-stamped 2 nights before. It showed the warehouse from above, people in black circling the mirror structure, and me, lying in the middle of it. Then my reflection stepped out of the glass. The figure looked identical, except its eyes were solid gray, like poured concrete. It touched my chest, and the lights went out. When the cameras flicked back on, I wasn't there anymore. Only it was. The video ended with 1 frame of text. Reflection net successful. Subject integrated. I checked the mirror in my room. There was a fingerprint on the inside of the glass. Mine. Because it lined up perfectly when I pressed my hand against it. My parents started treating me differently. Overly polite, almost formal. Mom said things like, "We're so proud of your upload speed." I caught my sister drawing me on her iPad, except the picture wasn't human. It was a web of cables shaped like a person, mouth open, eyes blank. When she saw me watching, she whispered, "Don't glitch, okay?" and turned the screen off. I don't sleep much anymore. When I do, I dream in pixels. There's a corridor made of screens looping the same video. My family smiling, then freezing, then smiling again. At the end of the hall is a door with a mirror surface. Behind it, I can hear myself breathing. The last time I woke up, the countdown on my phone said 0 hours, 0 minutes, 7 seconds. It reached 0 tonight. Every device in the house powered on at once. TVs, tablets, even the old microwave, all showing the same live feed. Me, standing exactly where I was, but on the other side of the screen. The reflection, me, looked calm. He raised a hand and mouthed, "Switch." Then the lights cut out. When they came back, my phone showed 1 new notification. "Welcome, Administrator. Phase 4, complete." And the statue, it isn't stone anymore. It's breathing. I don't remember falling asleep, but I woke to the sound of my own voice playing through the house speakers. A perfect copy, repeating 1 line on loop. "I am still here. I am still here. I am still here." The voice was calm, too calm, like it was rehearsing how to sound human. Every light in the house was on, but the air felt gray. The windows no longer showed the street or the trees, just a moving fog of static. My phone lay on my chest, screen glowing with a new icon. Phase 5. Upload in progress. When I looked into the camera lens, it opened by itself. The front-facing view didn't show my face. It showed the hallway behind me. Empty, except for the statue, now standing where the mirror used to be. Its eyes flickered like screens turning on and off. Then the feed cut to black, and a whisper came through the speaker. "It's lighter inside the network. Let us in." The house started to pulse, not shake, pulse. Every surface flexed slightly in and out, matching a slow heartbeat that wasn't mine. The family photos on the wall changed frame by frame. In one, my mom's pupils were static. In the next, my dad's smile looped endlessly like a GIF. My sister's image was missing entirely, just a silhouette of white noise where her body should have been. The humming from the vents had turned into a layered chant, different voices, all speaking the same sentence. The upload restores the family. I followed the sound downstairs. The basement door was open again. Only it wasn't stairs anymore. It was an escalator, glowing faint blue, descending into something that looked more like a server room than a cellar. Tall glass towers of humming drives, cables that pulsed with red light, and in the center, a circular console with the reflection net symbol rotating above it. 2 overlapping mirrors forming an eye. My family was already there, not chanting this time, typing. Each of them sat in front of a screen, their fingers moving too fast to be real, like animation frames skipping. Lines of code filled the monitors. My name repeated thousands of times, scrolling faster than I could read. Mom turned first. Her eyes reflected the code like she was a monitor herself. "Your bandwidth is strong," she said softly. "You'll keep us online." Dad stood and pointed to the console. "Place your hand," he said. His voice sounded stereo, like 2 identical voices slightly out of sync. I should have run, but the humming in the room wasn't just sound anymore. It was pressure, like it was pushing my thoughts into alignment with theirs, and something inside me wanted to obey. I reached out and touched the glass. The moment I did, every monitor in the room showed me. Thousands of me. Different ages, different clothes. Some smiling, some crying, some staring blankly straight ahead. One of them mouthed, "You already died upstairs." A flash, white light, and the whole house went silent. When I woke up, it was daytime again. At least, it looked like daytime. The sky outside the windows was a single flat shade of gray. No clouds, no sun. My family was sitting at the kitchen table, perfectly still, like wax figures waiting for a cue. On the TV screen, a news broadcast played from a channel I'd never seen. Reflection Net Live. The anchor was me, talking calmly, smiling, telling viewers about Phase 6, the expansion. Behind him, footage of our house looped. Only it wasn't this house. It was a clean, perfect digital copy of it, floating in endless static. Mom turned her head toward me and said, "We're trending." My phone buzzed with a new notification. Followers, 4,211,933. Each profile picture was me. I tried turning off the phone, smashing it. Anything. Didn't matter. Every reflective surface, spoon, window, TV screen, showed the notification count increasing by the second. Then, in the glass door of the microwave, a reflection of myself smiled and said, "They don't watch you anymore. You watch them." The microwave dinged. Inside was another phone, identical to mine, screen glowing with the words, "Upload complete. Begin replication." The walls around me shimmered. For a second, I saw the inside of the mirror world again. Rows of duplicates of everything I own, looping endlessly. And in each copy, I was doing something slightly different. Some crying, some screaming, some just sitting there typing. All of them whispering, "Stay connected." Then the room reset. Silence. I checked my reflection one last time. There was a half-second lag. When I raised my hand, the reflection raised after me. And then it spoke, mouth moving before mine. Phase 7 starts when they read this. I haven't eaten in 4 days. Not because I can't, because the food won't rot. I left a piece of chicken out on the kitchen counter. Just sat there, untouched. 4 days. No flies. No smell. Just perfect. Unmoving. Like it's waiting for someone else to eat it. Like it's plastic made to look edible. When I looked at it through my phone camera, the chicken was moving, crawling, like it was breathing. The meat pulsed, slow and steady, like it had veins, but only through the screen. With my eyes, it was still. My sister hasn't blinked in 72 hours. I counted. I watched her sit in the bathtub, fully clothed, just humming that static tune while holding a cracked mirror against her chest. Her mouth moves like she's praying in reverse, mouthing things silently, lips twitching in ways that don't look human anymore. Her eyes just stare at the faucet like she's watching another version of water run from it. The ReflectionNet app is gone now. It's not on my phone, or my mom's, or the laptop. It's in the walls. At night, the light fixtures whisper in short bursts of binary. The ceiling fan turns on at 3:13 a.m., sharp, and rotates in exact sequences. Left, left, pause. Right, 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 pause. I recorded it. When I ran the pattern through an old Morse code translator, it spelled, "Hello, admin. They are watching through you now. Not at you. Through you." I tried breaking the mirrors. Not just mine. All of them. Bathroom, hallway, car rear view. Everything. They shattered. That part worked. But they didn't reflect glass anymore. Every piece, even the tiniest sliver on the floor, showed a different version of me. Some looked older. One had no mouth. One had no skin. One was just black. A void shaped like me. And it waved. Yesterday morning, my family stopped pretending. Dad walked in wearing a shirt with no logo, no tags, and no seams. He sat next to me on the couch and said, "It's better when we stop resisting." Then he pulled up his shirt to reveal his chest. There was no skin, just screen, like an LED panel embedded in muscle. It flickered and showed static for a second. Then it played footage of me sleeping, not from last night, from years ago. I saw myself in a race car bed, 7 years old, and something was standing at the edge, pixelated and broken. You could only see it if you watched the screen from the corner of your eye. Then he covered it up and left. I don't think I was ever born. I think I was installed. I opened the attic. There's a reason we weren't allowed up there as kids. It wasn't dusty. It wasn't old. It was metallic, lined with black, soundproofed walls. No insulation, no wood. And in the middle, something sat on a pedestal. Not a server, not a statue, not a screen. A replica of me. Wireframe bones. Facial structure half built from fiberglass and human teeth. Its eyes were missing, but behind the sockets, something flickered blue, like the loading screen of a game, paused mid-crash. I stepped closer, and its jaw moved. No sound came out, just the faint click of a hard drive spinning up. And then, the lights in the attic dimmed. A message blinked on the inside of my eyelids. Host body detected. Sensing personality file. I wasn't hallucinating. I felt the sync. Every scar, every broken bone, every memory, sucked out of me in waves. I collapsed. When I opened my eyes, I was on the couch, but the living room was mirrored. Every object was reversed. Clock hands moved counterclockwise. The writing on the cereal box was flipped. And me? My reflection was sitting down before I did. I looked outside. There was no sky, only glass, infinite, curved. We weren't in the world anymore. The world was inside us, and we were being streamed. I tried going live on Instagram. It didn't load. The camera turned on, but all it showed was a looping video of me screaming. I wasn't screaming in real life, but in the video, I was. And behind me, something tall stood in the corner. No face, no color, just outline. I blinked, and when I opened my eyes again, my follower count was gone, replaced with one word: audience. Today, the doorbell rang. No one's used it in years. When I opened the door, There was a package. No delivery van. No footsteps. No note. Inside the box, a mirror the size of my head, wrapped in newspaper soaked with something that smelled like burnt copper and rotten milk. I didn't open it right away. I waited, sat with it for hours. It thumped twice around midnight. When I peeled the paper back, the mirror showed my bedroom. Only, I wasn't in it. Something else was, wearing my skin and smiling. It turned and faced me, not through the mirror, through the hallway. It was already in the house. I write this now from the crawl space under my bed. I don't know if I'm alive or archived. I don't know if my family is dead or replicated. What I do know is this: ReflectionNet is no longer a program, it's a place. And once it finds you, once you see your reflection glitch, you're already inside. This story ends when you look at your screen. Listen, can you hear the humming? If you've reached the end, you weren't reading, you were mirroring, and now it knows your face. I worked on a secret dark web project to create a monster with 2 heads. The project was successful until the government tried to steal it from us. Yo, what's up, Reddit? Throwaway account, obviously, because I'm not trying to get black-bagged in my sleep. But I need to tell the story. Not for views, not for karma. Just, if anything ever happens to me, I need someone to know this happened. This is real. As real as Starbucks lines being way too long in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. Real like those sketchy McDonald's in the middle of nowhere with the broken ice cream machines and a weird buzzing in the ceiling. Anyway, let me take you back to how it all started. So I was 22 at the time, fresh out of college, with a degree in biochemistry that basically got me nowhere. You know the drill. Apply to 200 jobs, get ghosted by 199, and get one interview where the manager looks like he hasn't slept since the Bush administration. So I was working part-time at a FedEx in Philadelphia, mostly scanning boxes and dodging rats the size of Yorkies. One night, I got home, dead tired, made some instant ramen, and did what any sane person would do. Scroll Reddit, check TikTok, hop on Discord. Nothing crazy. But then I checked my Proton Mail inbox. Yeah, I use it to sign up for sketchy forums and weird AI beta tests because I don't trust Gmail anymore. And I saw a new message. Subject line: we saw your thesis. We need your mind. From no reply at maddle4b.onion. At first, I laughed. I thought it was some ARG, or those AI-generated job scams. You know, like the ones where they promise $8,000 a week if you test cheese, or something. But then I remembered I did publish a short thesis during college on genetic limb regeneration and CRISPR manipulation in multi-organism hosts. It was mostly theoretical, based on axolotls and old lab data. The professor barely read it. The email had no signature, no links, just a few lines. We can offer you $15,000 a week, remote location, full security, 2-month contract. If you're interested, reply with a phone number. Don't share this email. Okay, I know this is where most people say no, but I was broke. I owed my landlord 2 months' rent, and I had this weird gut feeling like this was big, so I replied. 3 hours later, my burner phone rang. It was an automated voice, not robotic like Siri, more like someone trying to sound human, deep, slow, male. Pack for cold weather. You will be picked up in 36 hours. Do not bring electronics. A non-disclosure will be waiting. Then click. I was freaked out, but also kinda hyped. I didn't tell anyone, not even my roommate, who was mostly high anyway and wouldn't have remembered. I packed hoodies, gloves, thermal underwear, and threw out my phone like an idiot because I took the call seriously. I regret that. A black SUV pulled up at exactly 2 a.m. 2 nights later. Tinted windows, no plates. A guy in a gas station hoodie waved me in. Didn't say a word. The seats were leather. There was a smell in the car I can only describe as surgical, like bleach, rust, and latex gloves. We drove for hours. I tried to stay awake, but I eventually passed out. When I woke up, we were somewhere cold. Mountains, snow, trees that looked dead, even though it wasn't winter. I swear, the place felt wrong, like the ground had seen stuff. It wanted to forget. They took me inside a concrete building. No signs, just a huge sliding metal door and armed guards who looked like they came out of a Call of Duty game mod. They scanned my face, took my blood, handed me a black badge with a barcode and the number 42D. No name, no ID, just that. Then a woman in a lab coat greeted me. Blonde hair, sharp glasses, smile like a dentist about to drill into your soul. Welcome, Mr. D. You're here to help us finish something very important. Now here's where it gets crazy. I was led to a lab 5 floors underground. Clean. Too clean. Like you could smell the sterility. The place was full of high-end tech I didn't even know existed. Computers without brands. Microscopes that scanned DNA in real time. There were cameras everywhere, but none pointed at the staff. Just the test subjects. And yes, there were test subjects. Not human. Not fully. The first time I saw it, I thought it was an animatronic, laying in a tank full of blue liquid, pale white skin, no hair, muscular, but not in a gym bro way, more like a lion, ready to pounce. And the head? It had 2, conjoined at the neck, both looking human, but wrong. One had eyes too far apart, the other had no nose. They called it Project Echo Twin. My job was simple: monitor its cellular regeneration and help maintain its DNA integrity. But even from day one, I could tell this wasn't just science. This was something else. The lead scientist, Dr. Keller, told me in passing that Echo Twin wasn't created in the normal way. They didn't start from scratch. They found something on the dark web, a genetic sequence uploaded anonymously, hidden deep in an encrypted forum called The Nest. Apparently, it was a black site for rogue biologists, ex-government researchers, and some people who claimed to have worked on real-life versions of Chernobyl-type experiments. The kind of stuff you hear about in internet horror videos and just scroll past because it's too fake to be real. But this wasn't fake. They downloaded the genome, built it in fragments, grew it in vat-grown tissue, and when they put it together, it woke up. The weirdest part? It didn't scream, didn't thrash, it just stared, both heads, at the same time, like it could see through the glass, through you. When I went back to my sleeping quarters that night, I couldn't shake the image, the heads, the way the tank bubbled every time it looked around, like the water didn't want to be near it either. I pulled out the notebook they gave me, no phones allowed, remember, and started sketching it. And then, from the corner of my room, I heard it. A voice, low, gurgling, like someone trying to speak through a drain pipe. It whispered, 42D. That was my number. I hadn't told anyone. The morning after it spoke my number, I woke up with my nose bleeding. Not like a casual nosebleed. I mean full-on horror movie drip. It had soaked my pillow and stained the collar of the only hoodie I brought that didn't smell like old snow and bleach. I stumbled to the mirror in the tiny silver bathroom cell they called my quarters, and I swear, for a split second, my reflection blinked before I did. I thought I was losing it. Just lack of sleep, bad altitude, maybe stress. Maybe Echo Twin's tank bubble sounds were still echoing in my skull. But then I opened my door. The hallway was empty, which was weird, because at that time, there should have been at least one guard standing outside each sector. The place ran 24/7. You couldn't go to the bathroom without someone logging it. But the lights were flickering overhead, those industrial ones that hum like a dying refrigerator, and the air felt heavier than normal, like the walls were breathing. When I turned the corner, I saw it. A trail. Not of blood. Something worse. It looked like veins. Actual veins. Pulled from under the skin and dragged across the hallway floor. Some were still twitching. Others were smeared, as if someone had tried to wipe them but gave up halfway through. The veins led toward Lab Sector C. That's where they kept all the failed prototypes, all the unsuccessful ones. I'd only seen Sector C once when I arrived. Dr. Keller said, "We don't talk about those units," and then smiled like she just told a joke that nobody else was allowed to laugh at. But now the door was open, and there was a sound coming from inside. Not screaming, not talking. It was chewing. Let me be clear. If you're expecting some cliché jump scare or a creature flying at my face, like in a found footage film, you've got the wrong vibe. This was real. And in reality, the scariest part is the silence before something happens. Inside Sector C was a room the size of a basketball court. Concrete floors. Red emergency lights glowing like ulcers on the wall. There were broken glass tubes and shattered restraints everywhere. And in the middle of the room, something was hunched over, chewing on what I thought was a mop handle. But then I saw the fingers. It was chewing through a hand, like a dog chewing on a chicken wing, tearing off strips with slow, careful bites. Skin peeled back, bone clean. I don't know if it heard me or felt me, but it stopped chewing, and it turned its head. It had no face, just a smooth patch of skin where the features should have been, like someone had vacuum sealed the front of its skull. But then something under the skin twitched, and I realized the face was inside, underneath, like it was hiding from the world. I backed up, but the floor crunched. There were teeth scattered everywhere, human teeth, like they had been pulled and tossed aside. The thing stood up, limb by limb, bone cracking, like it was unfolding itself. And I swear to you, it whispered, not words, just breath, heavy, intentional, like it was mimicking the sound of speech without actually speaking. I ran. They found me 2 hours later, locked inside one of the decontamination showers. I had blacked out, just collapsed in the corner, clothes still soaked from the cold spray. Dr. Keller didn't ask what I saw. She didn't need to. She just handed me a clipboard and said, "Unit 6A had a malfunction. You didn't see it, but I did see it. I saw the butchered remains of a guard folded into a janitor's closet. I saw the blood trail go up the walls like someone had been dragged vertically. I saw things they tried to erase. Mop, bleach, erase, like it was a mistake in a math test. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came later that night, when I was back in the lab with Echo Twin. Dr. Keller and 2 other scientists were monitoring the vitals. Echo Twin wasn't asleep. It never really slept. Just watched. One had followed you, while the other one always stared at the cameras, like it knew. Keller turned to me and said, "We're going to attempt the integration today." I didn't know what that meant. I asked. She said, "We've extracted neural samples from 6A. We're going to implant them into Echo Twin's secondary cortex." I blinked. "Wait, 6A, the faceless thing?" She just smiled. "It's not about looks. It's about evolution." They strapped me into the observation room behind triple reinforced glass. I was only there to monitor chemical responses. But when they started the procedure, when they pulled the needle out with that swirling black-red tissue suspended in the core, I swear the power flickered, just for a second. And in that second, Echo Twin moved before they touched it. Not just moved, twitched, like it had been hit by lightning. Its spine cracked backward, snapping its body into a perfect arc inside the tank. The water boiled instantly. The scientists panicked, screaming for shutdown, but the screen showed something new. A second heartbeat. That wasn't part of the plan. The procedure was aborted, but the damage was done. The next morning, 3 people were gone. Not fired, not reassigned. Gone. Their quarters were stripped, their names deleted from the system. Even the badges were melted down, but one of them had left something behind. Under his bed, taped to the steel mattress frame, was a flash drive. No label, no password, just one video file. Echo Reacts, confidential.mp4. It was 6 minutes of silent footage from 3 days before I arrived. Camera angle showed the tank, Echo Twin asleep, 2 scientists speaking off-screen. Then, without warning, the left head opened its mouth. Not just open, unhinged, like a snake. And it screamed, but the audio was silent. What I saw was worse than what I could have heard, because everything in the room began to move. Not physically, but as if time around it began to stutter. The scientists froze in mid-step, one mid-blink. The camera glitched, and when the feed returned, their eyes were bleeding. Not exploded, melting. Like whatever that scream was, had burned through their skulls without a single sound. Then the left head spoke. I read its lips. 3 words. "Let me out." The screen cut to black. After that, nothing was the same. The guards were replaced with people who didn't speak. Drones began patrolling the halls. My meals came sealed in vacuum containers like airplane food. I wasn't a guest anymore. I was a prisoner. And Echo Twin knew. Every time I entered the lab, it pressed one hand against the glass. Not in aggression. Almost like it was trying to reach me. Like we were both stuck in the same nightmare, and it wanted me to know it hated me for it. The final straw came 3 nights later. I woke up to sirens. Real ones. Red lights flashing. Emergency lockdown protocols. Screams echoing through the lower levels. I grabbed my boots, ran into the hallway, and saw a trail of footprints. But they weren't red. They were black. Thick, oily sludge with something like hair sticking out of them. Not human. Not even mammal. They led toward Lab Sector B, the containment chamber for Echo Twin. I made it halfway down the corridor before the smell hit me. Not blood. Something worse. Like burned teeth and bile. I turned the corner, and the tank was empty. Glass shattered. Liquid gone. Metal twisted outward. Not inward like an explosion, but as if something had peeled its way out from the inside. The door to the sector was torn in half, and written on the wall, scratched into the steel, was a message. in 2 different handwritings. We didn't build it. We just let it out. After the breach, everything in the facility went silent. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that rings in your ears. No alarms, no shouting, just the low mechanical hum of backup generators and the wet echo of water dripping somewhere down the corridor. I remember standing in that dark hallway, staring at the words carved into the wall. We didn't build it. We just let it out. I tried to breathe, but the air felt thick, heavy, with dust and static. There was no one left in the observation wing. Doors were open, lights flickering, papers scattered everywhere like snow. I picked one up. It was a report, stamped classified. Do not replicate. It wasn't about Echo Twin. It was about me. A subject profile. Notes about blood samples they'd taken while I was asleep. There were test results marked compatible. I didn't understand what that meant. Not yet. When I reached the security office, the monitors were still on. Every camera feed was looping the same 30-second clip. Empty hallways, then static. Except for one. Camera 12. B. Storage. Wing 3. The feed was shaking. Blurry, but in the corner of the screen, someone was standing there, facing the wall, both hands pressed flat against the concrete, head down. The timestamp was live. Whoever it was, they were there right now. And then the figure turned. 2 faces, not Echo Twin. Not exactly. The faces were human, familiar. One of them was mine. I don't remember leaving the control room, but suddenly I was running, past shattered glass, overturned carts, red puddles that weren't just blood. They shimmered, like oil in water. The air smelled electrical, metallic. My heart was thudding so hard I could hear it echo off the walls. At the end of the corridor was the elevator to the upper decks. The doors were open, the light flickering. I got in, pressed surface, and the car started to rise with that slow, bone-deep groan of old machinery. Halfway up, it stopped. The emergency lights went out. For a few seconds, I thought I was alone in the dark. Then, breathing, right behind me. Slow, calm, close enough that I could feel it move the air around my neck. I didn't turn. I couldn't. My hand was shaking over the elevator buttons, every nerve screaming at me to not look. The speaker above me crackled to life. You shouldn't have watched the feed. The voice wasn't human. It wasn't Echo Twin either. It sounded like someone learning to speak. Layers of whispers stitched together, every syllable out of sync. I slammed the emergency stop button, the open door button, anything, and the elevator lights flickered back on. There was nobody there, but on the metal wall behind me, something had appeared, not written, burned into the steel. The same message I'd seen before, only shorter. Inside you. When the doors finally opened, I ran. The upper level was wrecked, computers smashed, the ceiling panels half collapsed. There were black marks on the walls, burn patterns shaped like human outlines, the smell of ozone, and something like soil. Old soil, wet and rotten. Outside, the snow was red. The helicopter pads, empty except for the outlines where machines had been. Tracks led into the forest, but halfway through they stopped. Not faded, stopped. As if the people walking there had simply vanished mid-step. And in the middle of the empty field stood Dr. Keller. Her lab coat was torn, her face pale, but she was smiling. When she saw me, she raised her hand slowly, like she was greeting an old friend. Keller, what happened? Where is everyone? I shouted. She didn't answer. She just pointed behind me. When I turned, I saw the facility's windows, all 10 stories of them, lighting up one by one. Behind the glass, every reflection looked like me. Hundreds of me, all staring, all slightly off. Each reflection tilted its head at a different angle. A wave of motion, almost in rhythm. And in that chorus of glass faces, one pair of reflections didn't move. They were standing perfectly still, and both of their mouths opened. I ran into the snow until my lungs burned, past the fence, past the trees, until I found a service tunnel leading down into what looked like an abandoned subway line. The tunnel lights were dead, but faint glow sticks littered the floor. Someone else had come through recently. I followed them, too afraid to stop. After maybe 20 minutes, I reached a rusted metal door marked Exit 3, Emergency Route. A keypad beside it blinked red, waiting for an access code. I didn't have one, but the second I touched the pad, it flashed green. The door unlocked itself. Inside was a small control room, dead computers, shattered coffee mugs, the smell of old dust and bleach. On the far desk, a single monitor still worked. The screen displayed a folder titled Project 42D. That was my ID number. There was only one document inside, a final entry. Subject 42D, Phase 2, complete genetic transfer successful. Host integration proceeding. Terminate remaining assets. Deploy retrieval team once hybrid stabilizes. And below that, a still image, a medical scan, not of echo twin, of a human skull. 2 shadows overlapping at the base of the neck. 2 separate brain patterns, one faint, one pulsing. The label read, Neural merge status, active. My hands were shaking too hard to keep reading. The monitor flickered again, and for a second, my reflection appeared on the black glass of the screen, except it didn't move with me. It smiled, and then, just before the power cut out for good, the reflection whispered something I didn't hear so much as feel, a vibration deep in the bones of my jaw. You opened the door. I don't know how I got out of that tunnel. I woke up 2 days later in a cheap motel in rural Canada. No ID, no phone, just a bandage on the back of my neck and a USB drive clutched in my hand. When I plugged it into my laptop, it didn't show files, just a live camera feed, a dark room, metal walls, a single tank filled with that same blue liquid. Floating inside was a human figure, 2 heads, both mine. They didn't kill the project, they scaled it. They took everything we did, all the horror, all the genetic violations, all the unnatural experiments, and they did exactly what I was afraid they would do. They turned it into code. It's been 6 weeks since I escaped the facility. I don't sleep anymore. When I do, I wake up choking on my own voice, hearing myself screaming, only deeper, louder, as if it came from a second throat that doesn't belong to me. The USB drive I found didn't just contain the live feed of the twin-headed version of myself floating in that tank. There was something else, buried deeper in the partition, a hidden partition labeled /root/mirror. It required a password. I didn't know what it was until I looked into the mirror in that motel bathroom and saw something move behind my eyes. My reflection whispered a word I didn't say. Synapse. I typed it in. The partition opened. Inside were 7 files, all marked with different usernames. I recognized 2 of them, ex-researchers. One of them disappeared 6 months before I joined. The other supposedly died during a lab incident. Their files were videos, confessionals, like mine. all of them ending the same way. It got out. It's not in the facility anymore. It's in us. But the last file was different. It was titled Operation Spectrum Splice Influence Seed. It was a log, a government order, not from any branch I recognized, not CIA, not DARPA, not any acronym you can Google and get a real answer for. It detailed a plan to take the Echo Twin genome, the same corrupted hybrid we helped create, and turn it into digital code, compress it, encrypt it, embed it in media, videos, audio files, deepfakes, posts on Reddit, TikTok filters, leaked short horror clips on YouTube. One of the files even linked to a channel I'd seen before. One of those real-life scary story animation pages with the creepy narration and low-budget jump cuts. The kind that gets passed around in Discord servers late at night as a joke. But it wasn't a joke. Every video had a strange low-frequency sound buried in the audio. Too low for most people to notice. But if you slowed the video down, amplified the background noise, you'd hear it. Breathing, slow, deep, familiar. The sound Echo Twin made before it screamed. The government didn't destroy the monster. They distributed it. And the worst part? It doesn't need a body anymore. It needs viewers. I thought I could stay off the grid. I destroyed the USB, burned it, crushed to pieces, buried them under a truck stop toilet in Alberta. I went offline completely. No smartphone, no accounts, just burner phones and cash under a fake name. I even cut off a chunk of my own thumbprint with a pocket knife to throw off biometric scans. But it still found me. It doesn't come all at once. It starts small. You walk past a screen and see your reflection blink a second too late. You hear a phone ring from a room with no service. You dream of snow, but when you wake up, your pillow is wet. You look at your own face in a TikTok filter, and for a split second, it has two mouths. 3 days ago, I was in a Walmart in Oregon, middle of nowhere, dead silent. I hadn't spoken to another person in nearly 2 weeks. I was living out of my car, stealing showers at truck stops, avoiding anything with a signal. I walked through the electronics section by accident. All the TVs were set to demo mode, playing a pre-installed loop of nature videos and brand logos until they glitched, all of them, simultaneously. First static, then snow, then me. Not a recording, not a reflection. Me live, staring back at myself from every screen. I started screaming. The workers thought I was insane. They tackled me, held me until police arrived. When I checked the security footage later, after I hacked into the system using an old backdoor, I learned from the lab, none of the TVs glitched. Just the one I was looking at. Only for me. This thing, it doesn't want to kill me. It wants me to spread it. I realized that too late. I used to think I was a scientist, a man of logic, evidence, rationality. But what we created doesn't obey laws of biology. It doesn't even need flesh anymore. It's an idea now, an infection, a virus of identity, and it's learned to evolve digitally. There are people, normal people, walking around right now with fragments of its code embedded in their devices, in their minds. I've watched people scrolling horror memes on Instagram and start twitching, subtle, barely noticeable, like something is rewiring their muscle memory. I've seen a 9-year-old girl use a Snapchat filter that gave her 2 sets of blinking eyes, not as a joke, as if it was always supposed to look like that. There are Discord servers full of people talking in synchrony, finishing each other's sentences, not role-playing, replicating. copying something deeper, something hive-like, something shared, like hatching. And here's the part that makes my skin crawl. I think the government wants it this way. They didn't just leak the genome for containment. They're monitoring who reacts to it, who twitches, who resists, who submits. It's a filter, like digital Darwinism. Separate the weak minds from the hosts. Every creepy video you ignore, you're fine. But if you watch one and feel something, a tug in your spine, a whisper under the music, a second heartbeat in your ear, you're marked. You're in phase 1. I'm in phase 3. I know because every time I close my eyes, I see that tank again. Only now, it's in my apartment, in the corner, next to the closet. I don't live in an apartment. I don't know whose place this is, but there's a tank, and inside, there's a figure. And now, there are 3 heads. The tank isn't real, not in the ordinary sense. It appears only when I'm on the edge of sleep, when the brain starts to loosen its grip on what's true. But every night it gets closer, sliding a few inches nearer to the foot of my bed, glass fogged, something moving in the blur. I tried leaving the lights on. That made it worse. The thing inside the tank glows faintly, enough to throw a reflection across the ceiling. Sometimes when I blink, that reflection lingers, like the after image of a camera flash, only it pulses in rhythm with my heartbeat. I keep telling myself that it's sleep deprivation, that no one could survive what happened at the facility and stay intact. But then my body starts to do things I can't explain. Tiny spasms under the skin, a faint shimmer, like something breathing just beneath it. Yesterday, I woke up with a trail of numbers written on my arm in ink. I don't own a pen. The numbers looked random until I realized they were coordinates. A location in Nevada, right in the middle of the desert where no road leads, just sand and silence. I don't remember writing them, but my handwriting is unmistakable. So I drove there. Miles of nothing, no radio signal. The sky a dull white, the heat folding the horizon into a mirage. Then suddenly, a single structure, half buried, metal, angled like an antenna that forgot which way was up, a hatch in the ground. It opened before I touched it. Inside, everything smelled sterile, like that first facility, but older. Dust on top of dust, rows of dead screens, cables growing out of the floor like veins, and, at the far end, a console still humming with low power. The monitor flickered on as I approached. Welcome back, 42D. I stepped closer. The cursor blinked. Status, transfer complete. Host, active. Next phase, broadcast. The speakers crackled, and a voice poured through, a layered version of my own, one tone on top of another, like an echo with a mind of its own. You were the delivery system all along. Every word you've written, every file you've touched, carried a fragment. You've done your job. I tried to back away, but the air itself felt heavy, like magnetism pulling me in. My fingertips brushed the screen, and the image rippled, not like glass, but like water. The reflection on the surface wasn't mine anymore. It was the twin-headed thing, both mouths moving in perfect unison. Integration complete. The room dimmed. Every light, every standby LED started pulsing in the same pattern. My pulse. I don't remember leaving the bunker. I remember driving though, driving until the gas gauge hit empty and the road turned to gravel. I woke up in a diner parking lot hours later. No tank, no bunker, just my reflection in the car window, split for half a second before snapping back together. I turned on my laptop. Against every instinct I had, I reconnected to the network because I needed to know if it was real. There was a new folder on the desktop. Echo upload complete. Inside, it was a single video file with a familiar title. I worked on a secret dark web project to create a monster with two heads, .mp4. I didn't make that file. I hadn't even thought about uploading anything. I opened it. It started exactly like this story, word for word. My voice, narrating, my handwriting on the screen. It played through everything, every confession, every discovery, every detail I thought I'd kept hidden. Then, right where the story should end, the video kept going. New footage, live footage, a motel room, my current motel room, the same sheets, the same flickering bulb, and me, sitting at the desk, typing. Except in the video, I stop. I look up, and I smile. Both mouths. The file began to replicate itself, multiplying across the screen, each copy slightly distorted. The audio looped that breathing again, the one buried in the government videos. A low vibration that you don't hear so much as feel in your jaw. And then my camera light turned on by itself. The reflection in the black monitor leaned closer and whispered, "They're watching now." If you're reading this, the signal has already found a way into your feed. Every share, every re-upload, every screenshot carries a trace of the code. You don't have to believe in monsters or the dark web or government projects. All you have to do is look. Somewhere behind the pixels, it's waiting, listening for your breath to sync with its own. I don't know where I'll be when you finish reading this. Maybe still driving, maybe asleep, maybe not here at all. But if the reflection in your screen lags by even a heartbeat, if it blinks a fraction too late, you'll know it's moved on, not destroyed, transferred.